Part 2. If you doubt socialist capabilities, the Soviet Union was able to outcompete the scientific space accomplishments of the US's entire 181-year history. At the time from 1922 to 195-7-1961-1966, only 35 years of existence for the Soviet Union to do so. Here's what the United States will never tell you. For science overall, the USSR pioneered accomplishments like first man-made satellite in space, Sputnik 1 Octi 1957, us not until Explorer 1 1958. First human in space, Yuri Gagarin 1961, Vostok 1 April 1961. Us not until Alan Shepard, May 1961, suborbital, but John Glenn 1962 for orbital. First woman in space, Valentina Tereshkova 1963, us not until Sally Ride in 1983. First spacewalk where an astronaut leaves the spacecraft, Alexei Leonov 1965, us not until 3 months later. First space station, Salyut 1 1971, us not until 1973. That's not even the most impressive ones. Venera 9, Mars 3, Luna 9 images. The first images 2/3 discernible taken of the Venusian, Martian, and lunar surfaces, all by the Soviet Union. First image of Venusian surface. Venera 9 Venus, October 22, 1975, Soviet Union. The Venera program successfully sent 10 landers to the surface, as well as Venera 100 and 1314, which returned images and conducted experiments. Vega 2 was the last successful landing on June 15, 1985. US didn't land on Venus ever. Venus, the extreme heat and pressure, 872 degrees Fahrenheit, 467 degrees Celsius, is the hottest planet in the solar system with a runaway greenhouse effect. Crushing pressures of 92 bars 9. Point Twampa, 1334 psi, 938 kilograms cm at 2, or 92 times the atmospheric pressure of Earth, or 3,000 feet, 914.4 meters underwater. First image of Martian surface, albeit pixelated. Mars 3 Mars, December 2, 1971, Soviet Union. Studying Martian topography, soil composition, atmospheric properties, solar radiation, and magnetic fields. The orbiter transmitted data for over a year, but the lander unfortunately failed only 110 seconds after landing. It was supposed to analyze meteorological conditions, atmospheric composition, and soil properties, and even contained a small walking robot, Prop M, to explore the surface. US didn't land on Mars until 1976. First image of the lunar surface. Luna 9 the Moon, February 3, 1966, Soviet Union. Luna 9 conducted radiation measurements, confirming that radiation levels on the Moon were at acceptable limits for human exploration. US didn't land on the Moon until 1966, 4 months later, and again famously in 1969, with some people aboard. Yet, admittedly, for science, putting a man on the Moon is much less scientifically desirable than exploring interplanetary space, landing on other planets, taking readings and that other stuff, and being actually useful for science rather than just showing off. Other notable scientific accomplishments from the USSR, like the first nuclear power plant, Obninsk 1954, US wasn't until 1957. First tokamak fusion reactor, 1950s. First laser, 1950s to 1960s, USSR contributed key theory. First successful organ transplant, Vladimir Demikov, 1946. Dog heart us, not until 1954, kidney in humans. First video game was admittedly Pong 1972 US, but Alexei Pajitnov 1984, Tetris was the most ported game ever. The first supercomputers BSM-6 1967, 1 MIPS thus not until Cray 1 1976 160 MFLOPS, USSR had early lead but fell off. Other socialist nations had accomplishments such as China developed the FAST telescope, the world's largest single-dish radio telescope. In 2016, also pioneered quantum communication with the MICA satellite in 2016. Cuba created the first lung cancer vaccine, Sinovac EGF, which has shown promise in extending the lives of patients. East Germany developed the first microprocessor in Europe, the U830 Celsiuses, in the 1970s. Do not even doubt for even a second the combined willpower of the state when it has its shit together. And these scientific advances aren't ransomed for money, they are given to the public or the betterment of humankind for reason beyond the almighty dollar cent. The United States, however, doesn't follow in the socialist footsteps. The Times recently, the late-stage capitalism is not capitalism run amok. This is the system doing what it was intended to do at some point, fail. We have better systems ready to replace it once it falls, and the proletariat, the working class, will be very happy to have better standing to have an actual future. Just as the bourgeoisie did all that time ago in France. The French Revolution. How ironic! Vive la Révolution! If this has not convinced you, then it's not evidence that sways your mind. By definition, you are illogical, irrational, fallacious, unreasonable, unable to be reasoned with and not worth my time, or you're heavily brainwashed on top of that. Either way, a net negative on my life. Part